the Kingfish has had quite a few run-ins with his mom-in-law. For instance, there was a time about a year ago, the Kingfish and Sapphire had a fight, and they sent for Mama to settle the issue. And then there was a time last Thanksgiving when Mama come over for dinner and the Kingfish was having a little trouble with the stove. Well, just recently, the Kingfish's mom-in-law moved in with him again on what looked like a permanent base. The Kingfish stood it for 2 weeks and then took definite action.
Mrs. Smith, it is fairly obvious to the court from what Mr. Stevens has testified that in the past you have been the cause of a great deal of the trouble that exists between Mr. and Mrs. Stevens.
Now, just a minute, Your Honor.
It is the purpose of the Domestic Relations Court to promote harmony between married people. So I hereby rule that in all domestic arguments between Mr. Stevens and his wife, Sapphire, you, Mrs. Smith, are to refrain from any and all interference.
But, Your Honor.
In other words, Mrs. Smith, during the period that you are residing with Mr. Stevens and Mrs. Stevens, should any question arise between husband and wife, this court orders you to remain silent at all times.
Now, Your Honor.
Silent at all times. That is all. Next case.
Joy Stevens, I don't care what the court ordered. You have just got to stop treating Mama this way.
Now, looky here. I got that old battleship mouth in dry dock, and that's where it's gonna stay.
Joy, you're just completely unreasonable. I don't think the court had in mind the extremes that you've been going through.
That old gal been making trouble for me for 20 years, and I ain't gonna.
Evening, Sapphire. Evening, Joe.
Come back here.
Me?
I don't like the tone in your voice there.
Now, Joe? But all I said was good evening.
Yeah? But I think I detected a sneer in it. And I think in the future, when you come into this room, just curtsy.
I'm sorry, George. But all I come in was to find out what you wanted for supper.
Well, I think I'd like to have some nice lamb chops.
I thought chicken croquettes would be nice.
You know chicken croquettes give me indigestion.
George, we're croquettes, and that's final.
Lamb chops.
Croquettes.
Now, see here now. See there? Interfering again.
My George, Mama only cleared her throat.
Well, she cleared it in your favor.
Now, wait a minute, George.
Wait a minute now. One more peep out of your mama, and I'm gonna slap an injunction on her so fast she won't be able to open her mouth without a court order. And I want them lamb chops good and done.
The mind is a sensitive organ to which is attached many facets. How you feeling this morning?
Oh, not so well, Andy. Chicken croquettes don't agree with me.
How you doing with your mom-in-law? You still got a muzzle on the old walrus?
Well, Andy, we're still giving each other the silent treatment, but it ain't worked out as well as I thought it would. She don't say nothing, but that old gal can sit still nastier than anybody I ever seen.
I guess you got a pretty nasty crop of in-laws. Take that brother-in-law of yours, Leroy. He ain't exactly no Freddie Bartholomew.
Yeah, that Leroy really is something.
Yeah. Say, Kingfish, I've been hearing about Sapphire's relatives. Ain't you got no relatives?
Well, you see, Andy, I come from a very small family. My papa, he was a sailor in the Spanish-American War.
Oh, he was, huh?
Yeah, and at the Battle of Manila, when Admiral Dewey said, "You can fire when ready, Gridley," well, my papa had the misfortune to be looking in the gun at the time.
Holy smoke.
And as you can judge, Andy, my papa was one of the first to land in Manila.
And that's all the relatives you got, huh, Kingfish?
Well, that's the only one I knows of, Andy, beside my cousin Sidney. And I haven't seen him since he was 5 or 6 years old.
Well, Kingfish, I don't know whether you're doing the right thing giving your mom-in-law the silent treatment. According to this virology book I've been reading here, the mind has got a lot of faucets on it. You turn off all of them faucets, and her emotions is liable to get stored up in there. And one of these days, her brain is going to pop on her like a 50-cent basketball.
Well, don't worry about me, Andy. When it comes to my mama-in-law, I got everything under control. Yes, sir, I'm sitting on top of that old elephant like Abu. Evening, Sapphire.
Good evening, George.
How soon will supper be ready?
In a while.
Having company for supper, honey?
George Stevens, I have a little surprise for you. Since you've been giving Mama the silent treatment, she's been lonely. And just felt she had to have someone to talk to.
Someone to talk to?
Yes. And look who arrived this morning from Florida.
Hello, brother-in-law, dear.
Leroy.
Yes, George, and he's staying with us indefinitely.
Say, brother-in-law, dear, where do you keep your shirt? I'm going out tonight.
Well, it's so nice. All of us sitting down to breakfast together. I am so happy. And I got my little baby Leroy here with me.
Yes, I'm here with my dear sister and my dear sweet mama.
Oh, Leroy.
Oh, mama.
Please, folks, I'm eating.
I'll get some more coffee.
Yes, and get me some more of them flapjacks. In the words of John Paul Jones, I have not yet begun to eat them.
You're just as clever as you ever was.
Leroy, seeing as I ain't allowed to speak to him, will you ask that mutton head sitting next to you to pass the sugar?
Will you pass Mama the sugar, mutton head?
Leroy, will you inform that old walrus next to you that she ain't supposed to be speaking to me?
Leroy, tell that old nincompoop that I ain't talking to him.
She ain't talking to you, nincompoop.
Now, wait a minute here.
And that furthermore that he ain't having his way around here no more.
And furthermore, you ain't having your way around here no more, fathead.
Now, look, Gooby, don't be jumping the gun on the insults. Wait until the old goat give them to you before you lay them on me. Mother-in-law, you're going to get in a lot of trouble here. The court done ordered you not to speak to me.
I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to Leroy. And from now on, he's going to have plenty to say to you.
Listen, I've had enough of you two.
haven't the slightest idea.
No, not the slightest idea.
I tell you, I've had enough of these two, and you've got to do something about it. They're making my life miserable. They're driving me out of my own home.
Is that true, Mrs. Smith? Have you violated the order of this court?
Your Honor, he's lying to you. I ain't done nothing. I've been as meek and mild as I could be. He's abused us, Your Honor. That's what he's done. I tell you, Your Honor, I'm a peace-loving woman. I'm always calm and serene.
Please, Mrs. Smith. I am afraid that your calmness and serenity are disturbing some of the other courtrooms. Now, there's not a question here of who is in the right or who is in the wrong. It appears that Mr. Stevens and his mother-in-law and his brother-in-law cannot live together in harmony. So, it is hereby the order of this court that Mrs. Smith and Leroy Smith vacate the premises without any further delay.
But, Your Honor...
Any violation of this order will be looked upon as contempt of court. That is all.
Well, it's nice and quiet around here now with just you and me and the rib roast.
George Stevens, this is just about the dirtiest trick you ever pulled, having to coat order Mama and Leroy out of here. My own flesh and blood. George, if your relatives come here to stay, I wouldn't have treated them like this.
Huh, you're just saying that because you know the only relative that I got is Cousin Sidney, who I haven't seen for years.
Well, George, you could have done it much nicer. You could have spared them the disgrace of hauling them into court and making us the laughing stock of the neighbors.
Listen, honey, there was nothing else I could do. And from now on, I expect to have peace and quiet. Peace and quiet.
You know, Kingfish, sure is quiet around your place since the relatives done moved out.
Yeah, Andy, since I got rid of Mama and Leroy, this place is like Madison Square Garden the day after the circus leaves. Yeah, and Sapphire going shopping, too.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'll need a top coat.
No, it's a lovely day, Kingfish. Hey, there's a cute couple for you.
Mm-hmm. Look at the coat on the boy and the hat. He looked like a fellow who once sold me a green tuxedo.
And look at that girl with the dog and the bird. They must be with a circus. Hey, they come in your apartment building here.
Mm-hmm. They probably dropping in on someone in the building. I'd hate to be the sucker that quartet descends on.
Well, it takes all kind of people to make a word, you know.
Then after that, Andy, we can get back to the lodge hole in time for the meeting.
You all set, Kingfish?
All set, Andy. Hello, could I help you? Is you looking for somebody?
Yes, sonny boy, I'm looking for George Stevens.
Well, I is, Joe Stevens.
Bring in the bags, honey.
What is this?
George, don't you recognize me? I'm your little cousin Sidney. Me and the little woman dropped in for a visit.
Cousin Sidney?
Yeah, and this is the little woman, Luella. What you think of the place, Luella?
Well, it ain't the Waldorf Astoria, but it'll do.
Now, wait a minute here. Yeah, you all just
See you later, George. Luella won't sing.
We invaded.
So that's your cousins, isn't it? That's a charming couple.
Get out of my chair. Holy mackerel. Ain't this something? Get out from here. Honey, there's something I want to discuss with you.
Well, we can discuss it up in the apartment.
No, honey, I think we better discuss it down here.
George, what is it?
Well, honey, the thing is, well, we got company.
Company?
You see, Cousin Sidney and his wife dropped in on us for a little visit.
Well, I must say, this is unexpected, dropping in out of the blue like this.
I know that, honey, but they're only going to be here a couple of days, I hope.
Well, we'll just have to make the most of it.
Yeah, but incidentally, there are 4 of them.
Oh, they're children?
No, I don't think so. No, they got a pet. 2 pets. They got a cat and a dog.
A dog?
Yeah, honey, one of them small Great Danes. He only about that high. Honey, it ain't my fault.
Well, George, there's nothing wrong. They're your relatives. They're entitled to visit with us.
Then you mean you ain't so?
Sure? Well, of course not. Why should a person be angry just cause relatives visit? It's a perfectly normal thing. Now, come on, let's go on up and make them feel at home.
We don't have to, honey. They done already made themselves to home.
Come in here because it makes me rather nervous. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1.
Good morning, Cousin Georgie. George, breakfast will be ready in a minute.
Look, honey, I saw it, but them in there.
George, it's all right. They're your relatives, and we all have certain obligations. I don't mind it at all. George, I wonder if you'd watch breakfast for me for a few minutes. I have to run down to the grocery store and get another dozen eggs.
Oh, me, what a life. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Pop that! Pop that! Pop that! Pop that! Pop that! And that's the situation, Your Honor. They moved in about a week ago, and they're about to drive me crazy. You've got to do something to help me.
At first, it was your wife's relations. Now it's your relations. I think the Domestic Relations Court is going to have to set up a bureau just to handle your troubles.
Yes, sir.
Now, I can't see why you've come down to see me in this matter. You certainly can't call on me to settle all your family disputes. You can't expect the court to get rid of this obnoxious cousin of yours.
Oh, no, sir. I knows all of that. But what I come down here for was to get you to lift the injunction on my mom-in-law and my brother-in-law.
You mean you wish your mother-in-law and brother-in-law to move back in with you?
Yes, sir. I figured he was the lesser of the two evils. But Sidney's gonna hang on like a bulldog, and the only way I can get him out is to tell him that my mom-in-law and my brother-in-law is moving back in.
All right, Stevens, we'll lift the injunction at your request.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you.
But, Stevens, this is the last time the Domestic Relations Court is going to intervene in your case. In the future, you'll just have to work out your own problems. This is getting just a little ridiculous.
But Mama and I is perfectly happy at the boarding house where we is right now. It's a lovely boarding house.
Look, Leroy, I'm sure we talk this thing out. We can see eye to eye on the thing.
Yeah, have another cigar, Leroy.
Leroy, you and your sweet mama has just got to come back to me and Sapphire, and that's all there is to it.
Move back in? Well, I don't know about that. I had the impression that we wasn't exactly welcome there.
Why, Leroy, whatever give you that idea?
Oh, I guess it was the little things. The way you used to kick me on my shins when Mama wasn't looking. And the way you hit my upper plate at mealtime.
Oh, come on, Leroy. I think you're just being sensitive.
Yeah, them was just boys' pranks of the Kingfish.
Yeah, look, Leroy, you coming back, ain't you?
No, I ain't.
Leroy, if you and your sweet mama come back, I'm going to give you $100 cash money.
Oh, well, now that you put it on a sentimental basis, Mama and I'd be glad to move back in with your brother-in-law, dear.
Yeah, boys, Cousin Sidney done cleared out lock, stock, and barrel.
And your mama-in-law is moving back in this afternoon, huh, Kingfish?
Yeah, I chose the lesser of the two evils.
Well, I'm glad it works out this way. You ought to try being as nice to your mom-in-law as Sapphire was to that cousin Sidney of yours.
Yeah, but I got to hand it to Sapphire. She's a wonderful woman. And all the time that obnoxious Sidney was there, she never complained once. Oh, she a grand little woman, boy. A grand little woman. And she taught me something, too. A lesson in loyalty. So I'm going to go all out to make Mama and Leroy feel at home.
Yeah, that was something. Your cousin Sidney and his wife showing up after you hadn't seen each other since you was kids.
Yeah, relatives is a tricky thing, all right. They like radishes. Just when you think you've heard the last of them, there they is giving you trouble.
The coffee is ready. Bring it right in.
Yes, Mama.
Mama, it seems like you got George under your thumb again.
Yes, Mama, he sure has changed his tune.
And Mama, I got to hand it to you and Sapphire.
Honey, it worked out fine. But we must never let George know that we got those two friends of ours from Brooklyn to come over here and pose as his long-lost cousin